A few weeks ago, Kung Fu Panda 4 released. To amazing critical success! No, actually, it wasn't very good, as much as that hurts to say. But rather than waffle on about the quality, I'd like to talk about the visuals of this film. If you've seen the trailers, you might have noticed how everything looks kinda weird, right? The lighting's less interesting, the character design looks generic, the visual direction isn't quite there this time round. Why is that? Let's take a closer look. Strong art direction has always been one of Kung Fu Panda's strong suits. Alongside the music, storytelling, and Jack Black, there it is. Such raw and unfiltered style does not come easily. You see, Kung Fu Panda is a perfect example of why concept art is king. A strong artistic framework is very important for appealing animation. That's why when developing the first film, DreamWorks brought in Nico Marley, a French animator whose stylized art you may recognize. When he began whipping up designs for Kung Fu Panda, he settled on a kind of fusion between Eastern and Western aesthetics. You see, in Chinese art, animals are usually depicted as quite ornate and detailed. And the original concept art for Kung Fu Panda adapted this decorative style, playing around with markings and features to create unique iterations of real animals. The second ingredient, of course, is stylization. Oh, stylization, my beloved! A core component of stylizing things is understanding shape language. And Kung Fu Panda has this in spades. A lot of characters can be broken down into basic shapes, and as a result, they have strong silhouettes that easily translate to the fast-paced action of the movie they're in. See? Shape language is a lot more common than you'd think. And it's not just the body shapes either. These faces are expressive. Just look at Tai Lung. His eyebrows aren't just slapped on. They feed into a stripe that surrounds the entire brow. This guy is planning your demise. A lot of animals don't really have eyebrows. Instead, they're adapted from the reference animal's anatomy. Whiskers, fur markings, etc. My favorite, of course, has to be Mantis, whose eyes protrude from his head at an angle, which move like eyebrows. Another important aspect of these films is the lighting. The often unappreciated cousin of form, lighting is what gives these characters depth. Foreboding moments are often enhanced with harsh lighting, working to highlight each character's shape and texture. Monochrome plays a huge part in these films too. A lot of scenes will be punctuated by just one color, whether it's the often inexplicable shade of the sky or some other light source. Alright, that's enough praise. Now it's time to look at where Kung Fu Panda 4 went wrong. Remember how I said the art style is a combination of Eastern and Western? Well, it was. The character designs in these new movies have taken a slightly different approach, and it shows. For example, take the latest addition to the cast. The fox, voiced by Awkwafina. It looks less like the design was inspired by the real animal, and more like a generic Disney face just kinda slapped on. Now, it's not bad, the proportions are fine, but those are just human eyebrows. And what's weird is that they have concept art in the original style. What? Huh? Now, I don't know if this was designed by the man himself, but Nico Marley allegedly did work on the film for about a week before leaving. And if that doesn't scream production troubles, I don't know what does. Forming the crowds and hordes of enemies are some pretty bland designs too. The background characters are kind of unremarkable, especially when you compare them to their much sharper, earlier counterparts. Finally, and this might be a controversial take, I'm not a huge fan of the villain's design. The chameleon's main gimmick is transforming into different people to use their kung fu-ness. So, granted, she does spend a lot of time not using her own design. And let me just say, the effect when she transforms is just so cool. if a bit horrifying. But compared to the rest of the villain lineup, the Chameleon is definitely the weakest. Her overall design is triangular, for that sharp, dangerous appearance. However, various body parts are out of proportion. The neck is far too thin when compared to the rest of the body, giving a fragile appearance. I also think the head details were a missed opportunity. They currently jut out at awkward angles, and could have been aligned along with the head crest to create a much clearer shape. Looking at the concept art, one of the drawings has a more jagged tail, and in my opinion, using this all the time would have worked a bit nicer with the Chameleon's pointy look. Lastly, I think some detail could actually have been eliminated from the design. You see, a good rule of character design is to have pockets of detail be offset by large areas of less detail. It leads the audience's eyes around and gives things balance. When features are concentrated over the whole body, it comes off as a bit over-designed. Although, even with these changes, I think the character design just doesn't take advantage of its reference animal's anatomy. Chameleons are weird. There's little pinpoint eyes, mitten hands, arched bodies. They are such dubious little creatures, yet the movie barely scratches the surface. The villain looks more like a gecko if anything. Now, I'd like to make it clear that despite my gripes with the fourth film, I still think it has good visuals. This is DreamWorks after all. Amazing animation is just par for the course. But I'm still unimpressed, because I've seen Kung Fu Panda do so much better. The fact that animation 10 years ago can rival movies today all comes down to a rock-solid art style. Kung Fu Panda 4 seems to have discarded this style for a more squeaky clean look, getting confused in the process. Although, early drafts for Kung Fu Panda 4 apparently featured a live-action hybrid art style. So, things could always be worse, I guess. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you lot next time.